American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
History for jerks.
Samantha, that's a hickey.
Stranger came in and slit his throat is what I think.
Man.
Terrible mess. I was covered in blood.
Those people all have boners and their boners.
They must have boners right now. The smell of decomposition was obvious upon driving into the property.
That's probably not a pleasant smell.
He couldn't even
Get
get
in the bathroom.
into the bathroom.
What'd he do?
He shat on the bed.
Welcome to another episode of American
motherfucking
Timelines.
Timelines.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Joe.
And this is the podcast that brings you all the crazy, nostalgic, interesting things from the past.
Yeah, there are some crazy, nostalgic, interesting things, weird things that would have gone viral, what have you.
Right. And tonight we're talking about 1965.
Yep, we're in the summer of 1965, but before we delve into episode 89, I got a little, just a little shout out, a little dedication, a special dedication I want to do.
Oh, great.
To a fan.
Oh,
one of
boy.
our fans. We got our first two comments on the app Castbox.
Mm-hmm.
We got featured on Castbox as a comedy podcast, a featured one. I was listening to the featured one, so I think we got a couple new listeners, a couple people trying it out. So I want to read the two comments I got from listener Brent Nelson.
Okay.
In fact, I'm so excited about these comments that I'm just going to read them.
Okay.
Okay. Brent Nelson starts off with, he says, on November 15th, Brent Nelson reviewed us, and Brent Nelson's picture of his profile is just a dog.
Okay.
Some sort of Rottweiler. It's just a picture of a Rottweiler. And Brent Nelson says, this would be about our podcast. He's reviewing American Timelines. He says, this would be really interesting if the guy would keep his mouth shut and let the woman tell her story. He says,
He's got a point. I like him.
he says, he is not funny and is annoying as hell. So
I think I wrote that.
So
honey.
I liked it.
I'm going to come clean.
And then he makes a secondary comment, and he says, even the lady tells him to shut up. He sounds like an idiot. I'm done listening to this asshole. That's Brent Nelson, y'all. And
I love him.
Oh, yeah, he's a great guy. Brent Nelson knows what he's talking about. So I'm going to see if we can, he should review every podcast. And Brent Nelson is right. He's right. But I've actually...
he hit the nail on the head. That's everything I've always thought and never could say.
Well, honey, or should I say Brent Nelson, I've written a song. I've written a poem that I just want to read to Brent Nelson to thank him for his comments about American Timelines. Brent Nelson, here, this is for you. I'm just going to read it. Brent, I hear you calling, but I can't come home right now. Me and the boys are playing, and we just can't find the sound. Just a few more hours, and I'll be right home to you. I think I hear them calling. Oh, Brent, what can I do? Brent, what can I do? That's for Brent Nelson.
What in the hell was that?
It's a song, a poem I wrote, I mean.
No.
It's not a song by Kiss.
Oh, that's Beth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brent, I hear you calling.
Well, there's no way you would have been able to sing it and have me recognize it at all. So.
You know what? Fuck you and Brent. Hey, Brent Nelson, if you're listening, if you want to fight, bro, I'm right here.
All right.
No, Brent Nelson's great. He's right. He's actually 100% right.
Yeah,
I
is.
am annoying as hell. So I'm going to try to just shut up and listen to you this time.
All right.
And go.
Wait a minute. I'm first?
Brent wants me to shut up, so I can't say anything. Sorry, Brent. This is how you want the podcast.
You really don't want me to be the star of the show.
Sorry, Brent.
All right. I don't enjoy this game, so how about...
Oh, are you and Brent asking me to just go ahead and talk?
Yes.
Thanks, Brent, for your permission to talk. Saturday, July 10th. We're going to just jump right into Saturday, July 10th,
Okay.
1965, where we got a new number one song. Another thing I'm going to try to do on this podcast, this episode, I'm going to try to not play any music because really we're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. If people start listening right away, they're going to say, you can't play all these songs, you idiots. You can't even play 1 second. I originally thought you could play like 12 seconds or 8 seconds, and then I just gradually just stopped caring and putting a lot more seconds.
Sometimes there's a lot of seconds.
Well, and one time I read somewhere that if you are using it for historical purposes or if you're talking over it, kind of like explaining the song, talking about it, you can use it, but I don't think that counts as free
fair
use or whatever. So I guess you could argue it, but so we should try to see if we can get away with playing, because I don't think anybody cares that we're playing the songs anyway.
Okay.
Especially if we know them. Anyway, so July 10th, 1965, it's a well-known song. The Rolling Stones take over the number one spot. I Can't Get No Satisfaction.
Oh, yes, of course.
Keith Richards came up with the famous guitar riff for Satisfaction when he woke up from a deep sleep and sung the riff for 3 seconds into a tape recorder, only then to fall back to sleep again.
Keith Richards did
did, yeah.
So he sat up, sang that song, and laid back down. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So maybe actually that sounded so good what I just did. Maybe we'll just do that instead of playing the songs.
No.
I'll just go
No, it's definitely not what we're going to do.
We might. And then we're all ready to what you have. I think you have something for us on July 14th, 1965.
I do. I'm going to talk about the case of Alice Crimmins.
Oh, did something with Alice Crimmins? Crimmins?
Crimmins.
Did it happen the same day that Adlai Stevenson died?
Yes.
Oh, the same day that Our Private World was on, starring Eileen Fulton, Julianne Marie, and Robert Drivis.
Our Private World?
Yeah, it's about young Lisa Miller Hughes. Had been through a failed marriage, and she needed something new, so she left her ex-husband Bob and her son Tom behind and moved to Chicago.
It sounds terrible.
Her new life involved many new people whose attitudes and problems affected Lisa's life. It has only lasted 1 season.
Yeah, it's about right.
Sounds stupid.
About right. Yes, so on July 14th, 1965...
Oh, wait. July 14th, 1965, the same day that the Older Americans Act was signed into law by U.S. President Johnson?
Yes.
The Older Americans Act. The first federal initiative aimed at providing comprehensive services for older adults. It created the National Aging Network, compromising the administration on aging on the federal level, state units on aging at the state level, and area agencies on aging at the local level.
Okay, yes, that day.
Places got more money based on how many old people they had.
Okay.
That day?
That day at 9:44 a.m.,
yeah,
Queens police got a call from Ed Crimmins.
Uh-oh.
So, minutes later, 2 cops arrive at the Regal Garden Apartments to ask questions and search for 4-year-old Missy and 5-year-old Eddie Crimmins.
Oh, no. Missing 5-year-old and 4-year-old?
Yes.
Do we have to talk about children murders?
So, Regal Gardens was a large residential complex. It had about 25 buildings.
The Regal Gardens, featuring the Regal Beagle.
It was mostly a working-class neighborhood, but it was considered a pretty safe area.
Okay.
To get to the Crimmins apartment building, the cops had to cross a wide, grass-covered lot and were met at the front porch by Edmund Crimmins, even though he no longer lived there.
Oh, but he came there to meet the cops.
Yeah, he told police his children were missing. His wife, Alice, had found that they were gone when she woke up that morning. The children's bedroom window was next to the front step, and it was a crank window, and it was partly open with a screen laying on the ground with a hole in it.
Oh, no.
Beneath the window was a porter's cart, which was basically like a stroller with a basket in it, and people would use it to carry things. It was something that people did a lot of the time.
Everybody had those?
Oh, like a baby buggy with a box in it or something.
All right.
So anyway, the Crimmins apartment was 1D. The apartment entrance was 5 feet inside the main entrance on the right side.
Is it bad that I'm picturing the Three's Company apartments?
No, that goes well with us.
I think it's because you said Regal, and that made me think of Regal Beagle.
Yeah, I can see that. So, the Edmund escorts the police inside where they meet Alice. And she was an attractive redhead, and she was wearing turquoise pants and this floral blouse and these platform heels. She didn't look like a woman who had woken up and found her children missing, basically.
And she was all put together and done up.
Yes.
Oh, something's not right here.
Edmund explains that he and Alice are separated and he doesn't live there anymore. He came to the apartment after Alice had called him and asked him if he had the children, and he didn't, so he drove over to help her search for them. So police questioned Alice about the night before, and she says she put them to bed around 9 p.m.
Right.
And checked on them at midnight, then woke up to find them missing. She said she woke up at 8:30, walked the dog, and went to wake the children at 9.
Uh-oh.
Then she called Edmund and checked with the neighbors, but no one had seen the kids.
Little kids like that, they get up way before 8:30.
Yeah. When Edmund
Probably.
arrived, he called the police. In the children's room, the youth bed and the crib looked like they had been slept in. There was a dresser beneath the window about as tall as the windowsill.
Yeah.
And there was also a lamp on it. And something that caught the police's attention was there was a hook and eye lock on the outside of the children's bedroom door.
Yeah.
Alice said that little Eddie would get up in the night and raid the refrigerator. And so to keep him from doing that, she put that hook and eye
Locked
lock
them in their bedrooms.
on the door. Yeah. And she said that she had locked the door that night before, and in the morning it had still been locked.
Mm.
The window to the children's room only opened 13 inches.
Okay.
It was like, it was that crank window, and
Yeah.
it only
Not
opened
all the way,
13
yeah.
inches. The lamp on the dresser was directly in front of the window,
Okay.
and the
lamp was undisturbed.
and it was and the window crank couldn't be reached without moving the lamp. So when a detective picked up the lamp, there was a ring on the dresser of dust where the lamp had rested, and the rest of the dresser had a layer of dust.
So it hadn't been moved.
Yeah. And the windowsill also had dust on it.
Huh. So nobody went out the window or came in the window.
Right. The front door had a deadbolt that couldn't be locked from the outside without a key.
Okay.
And detectives learned the parents were involved in a custody battle.
Uh-oh.
So they hoped one of the parents was simply hiding the kids from the other one.
Okay. It's trouble.
So an additional 10 officers were brought in to canvass the neighborhood and look for witnesses and search. The parents were scheduled to go to court on July 22nd, which was a week away.
Oh, July 22nd, 1965?
Yes.
The same day that Carol Burnett and Alan King were on Password?
Yes.
The same day that Michael Sean Hickenbottom was born in Chandler, Arizona?
Who is that?
Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid,
Oh, Jesus.
American professional wrestler.
Okay. Yes.
That same day? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Edmund had filed for custody to take the children away from Alice, and he was saying that she was negligent with the kids.
And a murderer.
This was before this.
Oh.
So
yeah, but he was like, she's probably going to murder them.
So when the detectives were at her apartment, they find all these empty liquor bottles in the trash.
Uh-oh.
And
heavy drinking.
They found, when they opened the refrigerator, they found there was hardly any food in it. There wasn't any milk. There was just very little.
Little known fact, kids don't need milk. All they need is Jack Daniels.
All right. So anyway, they started to get this real bad image of Alice. And they also found under her bed a overnight bag that had lingerie and lipstick and a toothbrush in it. And they found a little black book that had all these different dudes numbers.
Oh, not allowed to be promiscuous if you're a mom
And
in the 60s.
They found cards and letters from a different male admirers, and included a 52-year-old contractor named Tony Grace, who was a married man.
Uh-oh.
And
scandalous.
So detectives take Alice into the bedroom for questioning about the day before. They want to know what happened that whole day before.
All right.
And she says between 2:30 and 4:30 they had a picnic in the park, which was 6 blocks away from the apartment, on the way home. And on the way home she stopped at a deli and bought manicotti, green beans, and soda for dinner.
Okay.
When she got home, she called her lawyer, Michael Lupina, to discuss the custody hearing.
All righty.
She said
Seems
she
normal.
was worried about her former maid, Evelyn Atkins.
Uh-oh.
Evelyn had a story about a time when Alice abandoned the children to take a boat trip to the Bahamas with Tony Grace.
Oh, no. She abandoned the children.
Then Alice said she called Tony Grace at his office around 7 p.m., and he was in a meeting and said he would call her back. Then Alice took the children in the car to find the apartment where Edmund had recently moved. She was hoping to catch him with another woman to help with the custody case. Like, if to get evidence against him, because that will help with the custody.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'll help with stuff. But it sounds like she doesn't want custody.
So she drove around for more than an hour until it was almost dark, and then gave up. Then she bought gas at about 9 p.m.
Okay.
But
where's the kids during all this?
They're with her.
Okay.
But the two attendants said that it was more like 5 p.m. when she had shown up there.
Not 9 p.m.
Right. She said she got the children ready for bed by about 9:15 and moved. And she said she had moved a window screen from her room and to the kids' room because the kids' room screen had a hole in it. But then she realized that the one from her room, the dog had peed on it. So she put the one with the hole in it back in the window.
Because the dog had peed on it.
Yeah, that's what she said.
The
Isn't that
dog
weird?
peed on the screen.
So anyway,
It's too specific to be fake, I think.
but she just sat it in the sill. She didn't bolt it in there.
Okay.
And so she called a Bronx bar to talk to Tony Grace, who hadn't called her back.
Okay.
And
He was at a Bronx bar?
Yep. And she had talked to him about her custody case for a few minutes,
Okay.
then hung up. Then she got a call from another boyfriend named Joseph Rorick.
Oh, boy.
She had met him in January of 1964 when she worked as a cocktail waitress.
Ah.
Joseph asked her out, but she declined, saying she didn't have a babysitter that night.
I wonder if he met her at TGI Fridays.
At midnight, she said she took Eddie to the bathroom, and she was sure she relatched the door afterwards.
Yeah.
Then, after that, she took the dogs for a walk again.
Mm-hmm.
Then she sat on the front stoop.
She didn't walk him again. It's just, you're telling us again, right?
No, she said she walked him again.
She walked him twice?
Yeah.
At 8 in the morning and then again at what time?
This is like midnight.
Oh, she walked him at midnight.
Yeah.
And then walked him again at 8 in the morning?
Yes.
Huh. That's weird.
So, then she took a bath and went to bed between 3:30 and 4 a.m.
Jeez, that's late.
I know. So by noon, the search for the children became the biggest in New York history. There was over 100
boy.
cops involved.
Really?
Yep. Sorry. The building.
Where are these kids? Every time you turn the page, it sounds like a Rachel Maddow show.
Oh, well, that's kind of cool. So anyway, the building entrance had a deadbolt that had to be opened with a key, which I already kind of said.
Yeah.
The apartment door also had a chain lock. And Alice had changed the lock before she went to bed, and when she woke up, both the locks were still engaged.
Okay, so the kids could not have left.
So it looks like they could not have been taken through the window or the front door.
They must still be in that apartment somewhere.
So this makes Alice the prime suspect.
Or they're ghosts. Yeah, or Alice is the prime suspect. Maybe she ate them?
And she also didn't seem upset enough. She was kind of calm.
Yeah, she was all done up, right? She had
Yeah.
her makeup, got all dressed up nice.
And as police searched the neighborhood, some neighbors had said they had seen Eddie and Missy wandering the neighborhood on other mornings. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't unheard of, I guess.
For them to just wander around.
A neighbor girl told them she had seen the screen in place at 9 p.m. that night.
Uh-oh.
She and her sister were walking past and saw the screen and heard the kids saying their prayers.
Oh, okay, so they said their prayers, so Jesus should have saved them.
Another neighbor told police that Crimmins' dog Brandy usually barked at the smallest thing, and nobody heard the dog barking that night.
Yeah, those kind of dogs,
Yeah.
they bark at everything. So that's not right.
So about 12:30 that day, Alice's first interview was completed. The police didn't think the children had been abducted. A report came in that a body of a little girl had been found in a lot about 8 blocks from the apartment.
Oh.
So Alice was driven to the area to identify the body, which was laying in the weeds about 4 feet from the street.
But it wouldn't be her kids, because hers are boys.
No, she's got a girl and a boy.
Oh, whoops. I thought they were both boys.
No,
Like a listener.
the body was Missy.
Oh, no. Was her daughter?
Yep, a floral blue pajama top was knotted around her neck.
Oh, no.
And Alice's reaction was weird.
Is that the 4-year-old or the 5-year-old? Remember?
The girl was older,
Okay, the 5-year-old. Oh.
I think.
Eddie
I don't
and
remember.
Missy. That's right.
So she kind of made a pained look on her face, but her voice was emotionless and flat, and she identified her daughter, and then she was taken back home. And she didn't cry. But you can't always,
I would think
people
you would
deal
cry
with grief
even if-
so differently.
I would think you'd cry even if you did it yourself. You'd still
Right.
probably cry. Or maybe even more so because you want everybody to not know. I don't know. Maybe
I
not.
mean, people deal with grief in different ways too. I mean, if somebody might be in total shock, they wouldn't cry.
Shock is a different word. Or if they're mind controlled by aliens.
Or that. You're right.
Yeah.
So when she got home, she did show some anger when there was reporters in front of her apartment and they were trying to question her.
Well, the fake news media, a bunch of assholes.
But she seemed more upset about the police bothering her than about what happened to her daughter.
That's weird. Yeah. Fishy. It's already her.
After finding Missy dead, detectives were becoming more suspicious of both Alice and Edmund Crimmins.
Okay.
After seeing what was in the fridge and cabinets, they began to believe that the hook and eye lock was really to prevent her children from bothering her and her gentleman callers.
Yeah, because there's nothing in the fridge to eat.
That's right.
Bro.
Now that there was a homicide, police searched Crimmins' apartment.
Did you know that homicide used to be pronounced homicide in
What?
the 40s?
No.
Yeah.
You're making that up.
I was watching the movie Grapes of Wrath, and they said, yeah, I went to jail for homicide.
Really?
Yeah. So maybe that's how you're supposed to say it.
Homicide.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty funny. Anyway. So
Homicide.
police searched their apartment. The medical examiner went to where Missy's body was found.
Okay.
And the pajama top around her neck covered her face. She was in full rigor and was warm to the touch because she had been lying in the sun for several hours.
Gross.
A 9-year-old boy had spotted her body about...
Full rigor? Is that what they say? You say rigor mortis?
Yeah.
You say just rigor? That's what the people who know say?
Yeah.
It sounds a little too
clinical.
Yeah, no, it just sounds like you're
trying to be cool.
No, I don't know. No, just like you're too much of a crime head.
Okay.
Full rigor. Like, I don't know. You clearly you're reading and watching too much murder stuff.
You could be right.
It's like if I say, well, if I'm watching baseball and I say, oh, another ribby. Like
you probably would say that.
A novice baseball player wouldn't know what a ribby is, but we call them ribbies.
But
or a pick six.
You probably do say that.
And they intercept it, run back for a touchdown. Oh, it's a pick six. Oh.
You probably do say that kind of shit.
Rigor. Full rigor. Sorry. Anyway,
I mean,
I have a full-on rager right now talking about this. Sorry. Anyway.
You're such a jerk.
I'm not a jerk. I'm a great... Ask Brent Nelson. Oh, you're right. Brent Nelson said him. When he's done listening to
He didn't. That's
asshole.
the only thing he didn't say was you're a jerk.
No, he said I was an asshole.
I know. He didn't call you a jerk. That's the only thing he didn't call you.
He called me an asshole. I'm done listening to this asshole.
I love that.
Guy won't shut the fuck up.
Anyway, so a 9-year-old boy had spotted the body about 1 p.m. as he was walking home from the library. And he thought it was
Poor kid. That kid's life is ruined.
Well, he thought it was a doll. So he went home and told his mom all about this doll he saw. And his mom had been listening to the news, and she was like, holy shit.
She's smart enough to put two and two together.
So she went out there, made him show her, and freaked out when she saw it and went and got the cops.
Gross.
So the medical examiner saw no injuries on Missy at first. There were no cuts or bruises, but her body was swarmed with flies by this time. But this helps establish the time of death.
Okay.
Because flies only lay eggs on dead organisms after the sun comes up. Isn't that weird?
Really?
Yeah.
Gross.
After taking
Why do I know that? Why do we know that now?
After taking her to the morgue, the medical examiner saw several small abrasions on her neck and the back of her legs, which were there before she had died.
Okay.
It was initially determined that she had died between 6 and 12 hours before her body had been found. Mm-hmm. The chief medical examiner found that her stomach was full, so she had died about 2 hours after her meal. But Alice said they ate at 7:30, and she had checked on them at midnight. Now the primary focus for police was finding Eddie.
Okay. Yeah, you got to figure it out.
Edmund was interrogated at about 5 p.m., and he was an aircraft mechanic who worked the 4 to 12 shift, but January 13th had been his day off, and he had played golf at around 7 a.m. Then he went to the clubhouse and watched sports on TV.
That must be nice for his day off to just golf and watch sports while the wife is shackled with these kids. Miserable.
He left at about 2 p.m. and drove by Joe Rorick's house because he knew about the affair that they were having.
Oh, I was going to check on Joe Rorick.
Joe was a wealthy home improvement contractor on Long Island.
Who's just diddling whoever he wants.
Edmund openly admitted that he hated him and thought he was responsible for Joe and Alice for Edmund and Alice breaking up. After that, Edmund said he drove home, watched TV, and went out again at about 11. He bought a pizza and a soda and brought them home.
It sounds like a nice, relaxing night by yourself without any responsibilities.
He said he went out again before midnight, drove to a bar about a half mile from Alice's apartment where he had several gin and tonics.
Yeah.
He left before 3 a.m., drove past Alice's apartment, saw lights on in the living room and the bedroom, and called her after he got home.
Oh, boy. At 3, yeah.
He admitted he was checking up on her.
Yeah.
And they talked about the maid and that whole situation.
Yeah.
She hung up on him, so it was not a pleasant call.
Yeah, and then went back to bed.
He went to bed until 8:15 when he was woken up by Alice's call.
Huh.
So they searched for Eddie for 5 days.
Oh, my God.
Then on Monday, July 19th...
Oh, you mean the same day that I've Got a Secret with Soupy Sales was on TV? And the same day, get this, that filming began on the second television pilot for Gene Roddenberry's proposed science fiction series, Star Trek.
Oh.
With only one member of the cast that's the same of the first pilot that was filmed.
Sweet.
And that, you know what cast member they brought back from the first pilot?
What? Who?
Spock.
Oh, sure.
Leonard Nimoy. He's the only one that was retained.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, it's now featured Canadian actor William Shatner in the lead role. So that they did a whole nother Star Trek pilot with everybody different, except for Spock.
That's pretty... That would be funny to see.
Yeah, this is the day the second one was filmed.
All right. So,
Wow.
yes.
That same day?
That same day, 51-year-old Vernon Warnicki and his 10-year-old son Ralph saw a wet blanket partially covering a small decomposing body.
So think about this. They're seeing this blanket as William Shatner is making TV gold.
That's right. This was about 1 mile from Crimmins' apartment along a wooden embankment near the expressway.
Okay.
And the smell was overwhelming. They knew right away what it was.
Disgusting dead body.
Eddie's body was too decomposed to identify, but his clothes and blanket matched, and his fingerprints matched. The only fingerprints found in the apartment, when they searched that, were from Edmund, Alice, or Eddie. There was one unidentified print on the children's window pane.
Yeah.
It was kind of a partial print, though.
Was it a mushroom stamp?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Alice was under the most scrutiny of the two of them because
she's such a
the one
loose
who
cannon.
lived there. And there would be no reaon for an abduction for ransom because they didn't have money. They were so they did question any known sex offenders in the area and asked where they were and what they were doing that night, and all their alibis checked out, though.
Okay.
Over the next few days, detectives were learning a lot about the Crimmins relationship.
Okay.
Alice and Edmund had known each other for about 5 years before they were married in November of 1958. And then Eddie was born in October of 1959, and Missy was born in October of 1960. They were happy until late 1963 when Alice decided basically that it was awesome to do it with other people. She got like this sexual awakening or something.
Really?
And so...
They're banging dudes.
Yeah, something...
That's not something that
weird.
usually happens. You don't hear about that.
Not often, yeah. So Edmund forgave her and tried to save the marriage, but it didn't work. And by February of 1964, he ended up leaving her. And he lived close by her because he was obsessed with her, though.
Yeah.
He even would sneak into the basement of her apartment to listen to her.
Doing it with other
dudes, yeah.
That's gross.
He decided in February of 1965 that she was negligent to the children. And that's when the maid had called him and told him about how they had left.
Yeah,
she had left
terrible.
him. And so Alice and Edmund began spying on each other, and to try to get evidence, to try to win the custody case. But Edmund had by far the most evidence because even Alice's mother was going to testify against her.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And
well, yeah, it sounds like she shouldn't. Yeah, I don't know why she would want custody. It's weird.
Well, investigations continued for 2 years, and the public started to become critical of the investigation. Alice was followed, and her phone was tapped by the police, and everybody she knew was interviewed. Police thought she had help getting rid of the bodies.
Yeah.
Nothing was said on the phone when they tapped her, though, nothing was said that incriminated her. She never confessed to anybody or anything.
Okay.
Police were trying to drive a wedge, too, between Alice and Edmund. They were just so that they could turn them against each other.
Yeah, so somebody will confess on the other one.
So they would out her to him whenever she was seen with other dudes. They would tell Edmund and stuff.
Piss him off.
And wherever she worked, they would call. Like, she would go under an alias.
Really?
To work because this was such a sensational case, and then the police would call the place that hired her and say this is really the child murderer, Alice Crimmins. So she had to change jobs a lot and stuff.
I wonder what kind of work she did.
She was like a cocktail waitress, I think.
Cocktail waitress.
So
she was working as a waitress in a cocktail.
She started to develop a thick skin.
Okay.
But then when the trial came, it totally went away. She was real dramatic throughout the trial, wailing and screaming and all kinds of carrying on.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be pretty nuts to have all this happen to you.
So there was
if you did it
there was a letter sent to the DA in November of 1966.
Oh, November of 1966.
Yes, and this was a person who was writing, and they said that they had witnessed that night see a man and a woman walking down the street, and the woman was carrying a bundle of blankets, and there was a little child walking along with them. And she said that the guy hollered at the woman to hurry up, and the woman said, "Be quiet, someone's going to hear us." And that the man then heaved the bundle into the back of a car.
Oh, no.
And then they picked up the baby and they got in the back seat. So, but the writer didn't sign their name, whoever wrote this letter.
Yeah.
So the police pulled rental records and compared the handwriting with the people that live in that building.
Rental records of home or apartments?
Like their leases and stuff, so they could compare the handwriting. And they found this woman.
Oh, boy.
It matched Sophie Iramirski, who lived on the corner.
Sophie Iramirski?
And her window overlooked every part of the street.
Okay.
They went to visit her, and she admitted writing it right away. She was like, I was worried you'd find me. And she said she had actually recognized Alice Crimmins and little Eddie.
She knew it was them.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So she agreed to testify. So police theorized that Alice strangled Missy, then called Tony Grace, who helped cover it up.
Oh, man.
And then killed Eddie. And they had no other evidence. And they couldn't prove who the man was that Alice was with, that Mrs. Iramirski saw. They limited the case to the murder of Missy, though, because with Eddie, it was tricky because you couldn't really prove that he died by murder because he was so decomposed.
Ugh.
But, I mean, there's no other logical, like, to have him die within that.
Maybe he died of old age.
Seriously, there's no other really. I think that's a reasonable doubt. But anyway.
Yeah, he wasn't that old.
They, grand jury met in September of 1967, and Joe Rorick was told to testify.
Wait, are you saying September 12th of 1967?
Not yet.
Oh.
By 1967, Joe was in serious trouble in business and was deeply in debt. And had legal trouble. And
he was the rich guy, too, huh?
Yeah. When he was questioned, he said Alice told him she'd rather see her kids dead than be with Edmund. And Mrs. Iramirski also testified that when the man threw the bundle into the car, Alice had cried out, "Don't throw her." And the man said, "Does she know the difference?"
Oh, no.
So the grand jury indicted Alice on first-degree murder on September 12th, 1967.
Oh, you mean the same day that CIA Director Richard Helms presented U.S. President Johnson with a classified report titled Implications of an Unfavorable Outcome in Vietnam, prepared by analysts in the Office of National Estimates?
Yes.
According to analysis, failure would not come as a result of a complete military and political collapse of the U.S. effort in Vietnam, but would evolve from a likely compromise solution that would result from a peace settlement.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. But also the same day that Louis C.K. was born.
Who's that?
Louis C.K. He's a famous masturbator in front of women.
Yes, he is.
And comedian.
True. So, yes, on September 12th, Alice was arrested as she was getting into her car.
Okay.
Hold on, let me get there.
What kind of car was it? What make and what? Just give me the make and model and year and just the VIN number.
And the media went nuts at this point.
Oh yeah.
And the public was divided about her guilt. And because it was so tough to find a motive,
Yeah.
like detectives theorized that Missy may have woken up and interrupted Alice and some lover, and then Alice got mad, which they're looking at all of this stuff and acting like she's a big slut, and that's their first.
Because that's what they do.
Because to me,
women aren't supposed to act
doesn't
like
make
that.
any sense. Another possible motive was to keep Edmund from getting custody. So the trial began on November of 1968. And it was real sensationalized. There was lots of testimony about all of her sexual exploits, and she had all these outbursts in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Joe Rourke testified that she admitted to killing Missy during that testimony. Alice,
she admitted to it to him?
That's what he says.
Yeah.
And during that testimony, Alice jumps up and screams, "How could you do this? That isn't true." And then Mrs. Yarmurski, though, was the dramatic witness.
Right.
She told her story, pointing at Alice and identifying her when they said, do you see that person in the courtroom, blah, blah. Edmund was also called to testify, and he still defended Alice.
Huh.
The evidence was laid out, showing there was no way someone could have come into the apartment and abducted the children, and also the dog didn't bark, and then the maid also testified.
You would think the dog would still bark when the baby died, no matter who killed her.
You would think.
Unless it was like an accident. The only thing I think was an accident. They're trying to cover it up, like the John Benet Ramsey theory.
Oh, maybe, yeah. The medical examiner testified about the time of death. The defense had witnesses testify that Alice was a good mom, and Alice testified, which opened her up to all her private life.
Right.
And she would tremble and cry when her children were brought up, and she changed her story about whether she latched the hook and I latched. She started thinking maybe she didn't lock it.
I bet she can't remember. I mean, you go through, you play it over in your head so many times, and then you just can't remember anymore, probably.
And she denied that she confessed to killing Missy to Joe Rourke.
Joe Rourke's a fucking liar.
The jury came back with guilty verdict for first-degree manslaughter, and Alice passed out. She was transferred to prison after being hospitalized for a week.
A woman's prison?
Yes.
I'm picturing Orange is the New Black.
She was sentenced to 5 to 20 years.
Oh.
So then
That's it for murdering 2 children?
This lawyer, Herbert Lyon, comes in and takes her case. He's a real high-powered defense attorney.
Herbert Lyon.
He thinks she's innocent. So he's trying to get her out. So he gets her out on bail with a certificate of reasonable doubt that was granted.
Oh, I didn't know that was such a certificate.
Yes. Yeah. So after 24 days in prison, Alice was free again. The appeal was 16 months later, and her conviction was reversed. The 3 judges considering her appeal said that the fact that 3 jurors visited the scene without attorney's knowledge, that was prejudicial to Alice's rights.
Huh.
And so also they said that Mrs. Yarmurski wasn't a credible witness.
They're finding some technicalities.
Yes. So she had a second trial in March of 1971.
Did they say Mrs. Yarmurski was just like cross-eyed and going,
yeah, they brought up her medical history and all this stuff. Yeah. So in 1971, she had her second trial. This was 6 years after the deaths.
Oh, boy.
And this time she would be indicted for both deaths, first-degree murder of Eddie and first-degree manslaughter of Missy.
Okay.
Back in 1967, the DA had heard about a prisoner that was bragging that he knew the real story.
Really?
And he said he was friends with Tony Grace and Alice, and he knew what had happened.
Oh, man. Prisoners always brag.
But it wasn't taken seriously until January of 1968.
Oh.
Then the prisoner told the DA that he knew who drove the car that night. And a detective met Joseph Rourke for drinks.
Uh-oh.
And he said he was sorry he blew the whistle on Alice. He reminisced about the children and wondered why Alice would kill them. He said Alice told him she had help killing Eddie and mentioned a name and showed a picture of this guy named Vincent Colabella.
Huh. That sounds like a stand-up guy. I don't think he would do it.
And this was a guy that the police already kind of had heard of.
Vincent Colabella?
He was like a mafia guy.
Uh-oh.
And so...
Mafia's not good.
They tracked Colabella down, but he refused to talk, so it was kind of a dead end anyway.
All right.
So the grand jury indicted Alice in July 1970, and she surrendered and pleaded not guilty, and the trial began March 15th, 1971.
Oh, March 15th, 1971, the same day that Nikolai M. Klaksvik was born in Copenhagen, a renowned Danish painter of the late 18th century.
Yes.
And one of the early neoclassicists. Also, The same day that Chuck Connors and Tim Conway and Phyllis Diller all on Laugh-In.
Yeah, that was a good show.
Fernando Lamas was on there too.
Fernando Lamas.
Fernando Lamas.
Ricardo Montalban.
Oh, yeah.
¿Quieres más macho?
Más macho. Yeah.
¿Quieres más macho?
George Raft was on that episode. Herschel Bernardi.
All right. An upstairs neighbor testified this time on the second trial that on the morning...
A more sane upstairs neighbor?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the morning of July 14th, she saw Alice on the street carrying a bundle, and that this was on the morning, and that Alice didn't say anything at all to her about her children being missing.
Okay.
Which is weird.
Yeah,
because if she's looking out there looking for her children, you would think she'd ask anybody walking by.
But is that the morning before they were disappeared?
No, this is the morning after.
Yeah. Huh.
So the milkman also testified that he had delivered milk at 2:30 a.m. and didn't hear the dog bark like she usually did.
Oh, the dog's dead.
Detectives testified no fingerprints had been found, or not really. No footprints or scuff marks were found. Mrs. Yaromirski again testified.
Oh, crazy lady again.
A microchemist from medical examiner's office testified about hairs found on Missy. They were dog hairs. For some reason, that's weird. And food found in Missy's stomach was, how that whole thing related to her time of death and all that.
Yeah.
There was no real way to prove Eddie was murdered because of the decomposition. I already said that.
Yeah.
Joseph Rorick testified that Alice confessed to him, and then another neighbor corroborated Mrs. Yaromirski's testimony.
Yeah.
Alice and her attorney appealed to the public. Alice said, anybody out there that late at night knew anything at all, could they come forward? And there was this guy, travel agency manager, who said he was out with his family, dog and child, in a blanket. Like he thought maybe he was who people saw.
Oh, he was out there.
He became a witness for the defense.
Okay.
But during cross-examination, it was discovered he had not been parked in the same place that Mrs. Yaromirski said the car was.
Oh, poor guy.
So the
Poor
second trial, Alice does not testify, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's smart.
She was found guilty again.
Oh, poor thing.
So
maybe she did it.
She was sentenced to life in prison. There's this book called Ordeal by Trial.
Yeah.
The author Joe Carposi Jr. says that after he sent out the first edition of this book, Joe Rorick contacted him.
Really?
And met with him.
Okay.
And told him this whole story about how it was Tony Grace and there was a mafia connection and he had sent somebody.
That makes sense. The kids were in a mafia poker
Well, he
ring.
said that she was connected with this politician sexually, and if her custody battle would have gone public, that would have hurt this politician's reputation because the affair would have been brought out in public, and so they had to kill the kids to prevent the custody battle.
Yikes!
Which doesn't make any sense to me.
If the kids are dead, there's no custody battle. Just kill the kids.
Why wouldn't they
kill her?
Him or her
or everybody?
Why would they kill the kids?
Or Mrs. Yaromirski, don't kill her.
Kill her. So anyway.
No, she doesn't deserve to die. That's someone's grandmother.
So
no, we shouldn't kill anybody.
There continues to be holes in any theory of motive, though, with what.
That'll show you. You know what? Politics will kill anybody.
So 2 years.
People want to be in office so bad.
Yeah.
Why does anybody want to be president?
I know.
Anyway,
That's a mystery. So 2 years after her conviction, the murder charge was overturned.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, the appellate court ruled that Eddie's death had not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt to have been a murder.
Right.
But
what about Missy?
Manslaughter conviction was also overturned because there was prosecutorial misconduct. But so a third trial was ordered for that. In February of 1975, the New York Court of Appeals reinstalled the manslaughter verdict. She was ordered
reinstalled it again.
Yes, she was ordered to finish her sentence and was paroled in 1977, then moved to Key Largo with Tony Grace.
Key Largo. Oh, Tony Grace went with her now? He left his other lady?
He did.
And that's the end. And she still stayed with Tony Grace after all this, huh?
She married him while she was in prison.
Tony Grace?
Yes. So I got a lot of this from the parts of the book Ordeal by Trial by George Carposi Jr.
Okay.
True Crime Brewery did a good episode on it, which I got a lot of this from. And then
that's
A Crime to Remember had an episode, Go Ask Alice.
Go ask Alice. I think she'll know.
So that is the story of Alice Crimmins.
That's crazy. That was a long story.
I know.
Well,
I know.
It wasn't as long.
It
took us longer because we had to take breaks, but
hopefully there was a lot of jumbly stuff in there, so hopefully you can edit it.
Take some time. But, let's cleanse our palate with Saturday, July 24th, 1965, when a pioneering African-American runway model, Beth Ann Hardison, has a baby with her fella, Donald McFadden, an antique and fine art collector.
What are you talking about?
And the baby's name is Kadeem Hardison, born in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, New York.
Who is this
Bed-Stuy.
now?
Kadeem Hardison is born.
Who the hell is that?
You take that back right now. Everyone knows who Kadeem Hardison. Everyone knows Kadeem Hardison.
No.
The unbelievable actor who played Dwayne Wayne in A Different World.
Oh, Jesus. All
It's
right.
a different world.
Keep going, please.
From where you come from. And next week on American Timelines, Kadeem Hardison is our guest.
Ridiculous.
Okay, Kadeem Hardison's not our guest yet. I'm trying to get him, though. Thursday, July 29th, 1965. Vivian Lee's final film before her death on July 8th, 1967 comes out. A varied group of passengers boarding a ship bound for pre-World War II Germany represents a microcosm of early 1930s society, directed by Stanley Kramer.
What is it?
Starring Vivian Lee, Simone Signoret, and Jose Ferrer. Ship of Fools.
Okay.
Do you know that?
I've never seen that.
Vivian Lee was subject to bouts of depression and alcoholism and was abrasive to fellow actors.
Yeah, she had a lot of mental health issues.
She did. There was a rocky start to her relationship with Lee Marvin.
She's supposedly a nymphomaniac.
I like that. Wherein she complained about his stale alcohol breath. Eventually, the two became highly unlikely good friends.
That's funny.
Yeah. Katharine Hepburn was the first choice for the aging Southern Belle. But because Spencer Tracy's bad health, she opted to continue to care for him, and she was replaced by Vivian Lee.
Because Spencer Tracy was a laid-down alcoholic. When he was not on set, he would lay in the bathtub and drink alcohol until he passed out.
That's what I do.
It's true.
It's a good place to do it, because if you poop and pee yourself, it's just in the tub.
And you can wash it down.
The film cast includes 4 Oscar winners: Vivian Lee, Lee Marvin, Simone Signoret, Jose Ferrer, and 4 Oscar nominees: Michael Dunn, Oscar Werner, Lilia Scala, and George Segal. And Steven Seagal.
Yes.
Just kidding. And that's the end of July. Should I try to go into August?
You got a lot of August.
1, 2, 3. I only have 3 things.
Yeah, let's do it.
August. Another movie came out August 3rd, 1965. Darling. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Darling is a 1965 British drama film written by Frederic Raphael, directed by John Schlesinger, starring Julie Christie with Dirk Bogarde and Lawrence Harvey. Darling was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. Christie won the Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance as Diana Scott. The film also won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay and Best Costume Design.
We didn't watch any of the trailers.
Yeah, beautiful but amoral model Diana Scott sleeps her way to the top of the London fashion scene at the height of the swinging 60s. Can't imagine that'd be that exciting, but maybe it would be. Shirley MacLaine was originally cast as Diana, but she dropped out.
Oh.
And then Saturday, August 7th, 1965, the Hermits take over the #1 spot on the Billboard chart.
I am Henry VIII, I am. Is it really?
It's that.
Henry VIII, I am.
And so I'd like to amend my earlier statements on the Beatles and how it was amazing. They were so much different than everybody else because when they were on Ed Sullivan, everyone was screaming. Because I watched a video from this time with the Hermits playing this stupid, shitty song.
Yes.
And women are screaming the same way and just crying and in love with these idiots. So I guess just everyone in the 60s was just screaming and crying at everyone.
Yeah.
Although maybe it's not the same. Maybe it's just that age of girl, because that happens on.
It happens now.
Yeah, it happens on TV shows.
I wonder when it first started. Like did that happen in the 1800s? Can you imagine like girls in big giant dresses doing that?
Screaming, like just a high-pitched scream. I mean, it's the same thing as they have the High School Musical Theater Awards.
Yes.
And
they do the same thing.
The girl, everything. Every single song, every single thing, they all just scream. But they don't look like they're screaming like they can't control themselves. They're just screaming because it's just like a reaction, I guess.
Yeah. Well, adults still do it, but they just go, woo!
Woo! Yeah, it turns into woo!
Yeah.
But like kids.
And Americans do that worse than anybody I've ever seen.
Are the worst.
Like if you listen to an American crowd,
yeah.
If you listen to a lot of podcasts that do tours that across the seas, then you listen to the American crowd and it's so annoying compared to the other European crowds.
Yeah, I heard an interview with Sam Jay, who's a American comedian, and when she first went to London, she didn't get it. She was like, why am I bombing? Why aren't they laughing at any of this? And they don't even laugh. Like at stand-up, they don't laugh. They love the show.
Yeah.
They clap at the end. Like, no, it was great. We're listening. We don't want to laugh. And she was like, oh, so you liked it? They're like, yeah, you were fabulous. And she was like, oh, I'm just used to getting laughs. It's like a weird American thing. Americans are messed up. Anyway, in 1965, this song became the fastest-selling song in history to that point when it was revived by Herman's Hermits. But this is the original Henry VIII song is a 1910 British music hall song by Fred Murray.
I'm sure that's in the public domain. We could probably listen to that.
I'm Henry VIII. I am not this version.
It's not from 1910. It's not in the public domain yet.
No, I mean not the 1965 version by Herman's Hermits.
No, that's what I'm saying. We could listen to the 1910
I probably could
one.
if I could find it somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm sure it wasn't recorded anywhere. Anyway, yeah. And then Saturday, August 14th, 1965, Sonny and Cher knocked the Hermits off the number one spot. You know what song?
The Beat Goes On?
Nope. Classic. More of a classic
I
song.
Got You, Babe?
I Got You, Babe.
Oh, yeah.
And according to songfacts.com, Sonny Bono was an up-and-coming record producer when he got Cher a job with Phil Spector as a session singer. They started dating and moving into their manager's house, where Bono would write songs on a piano in the garage. He came up with I Got You, Babe, and wrote the lyrics on a piece of cardboard. Cher didn't like it at first. She recalled to Billboard magazine, Sonny woke me up in the middle of the night to come in where the piano was in the living room and sing it. And I didn't like it. And just said, okay, I'll sing it and then I'm going to fuck back to bed. Motherfucker.
What kind
what
kind of accent was that?
That's Cher. That's exactly how Cher sounds when she sings.
No, that isn't.
You believe in love after love. Anyway, right. Sonny changed the key in the bridge to fit her voice, and then she loved it. Also, she had some more sleep. That's it. Yes. That's the end of August. Should I start September?
No.
A little preview for next episode. Charlie Sheen is going to be born. It's going to be the best.
Now you don't have to talk about it next episode because you
just
did.
Do. I have Charlie.
No, because you just did.
I have Charlie Sheen's entire biography to jump into in
September. Oh, Jesus Christ. Nobody cares.
Everybody cares about Charlie Sheen.
Nobody gives a shit
you don't know
about
what
Charlie Sheen.
You don't know what name he was named when he was born. And you can find out next episode.
I couldn't care less.
Preview. You ever wonder what Charlie Sheen's name was when he was born? You can either Google it real fast or wait till next episode,
which is much more fun.
Yes, we'll be shirtless, and you can be shirtless watching this. And shout out to Brent Nelson, y'all, the best looking podcasting reviewer in the world.
Podcasting reviewer.
Yeah, Brent Nelson. Brent Nelson fucking knows podcasts.
That's his title.
That dude fucking knows.
All right. Everybody, it's time to get out of here, Chuck Berry.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Brent Nelson. Get out of here, Brent Nelson.
That should be our new one.
Yeah, get out of here, Chuck Berry and Brent Nelson. Take Brent Nelson with you. No, welcome Brent Nelson to another episode of... Anyway, I love you and Brent Nelson.
Samantha, that's a hickey.
When you were all along the watchtower, kissing the sky, well, I was barely a glimmer in my young daddy's eye. I said that we're so tired of hearing about the 60s. One more time, I said we're so tired of hearing about 5, the 60, well, make me shut my mouth.
American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
Samantha.
Timeline.